Lyle, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks,
man.
man.
I'm super pumped to just kind of get into your story a little bit and learn what great things you're doing in the real estate space. We've known each other for about, 3 years now or so, huh?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, about 3 years, 4 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we met, I think it was through the team leader on the team that you were on at the time. And I feel like we became fast friends. Like,
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed every conversation with you. And every time I sit down with you, I feel like you make me better. So this is a little bit selfish, actually.
Oh, I'm honored to be here. So.
But man, let's dive in. I want to learn a little bit more about kind of the origin of how you got into real estate and what's built what you have now today.
Yeah. So I'll briefly kind of go over a little bit of it. So going into high school, I was a very, problem kid. Like everyone seems I meet always has a dysfunctional family of some sort. But I had a teacher that always looked out for me, and she owned about 27 properties.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I was like, why are you a teacher?
Yeah.
She goes, well, it gives me the financial freedom to do what I really love, and that's helping kids.
Yeah.
And I was like, 18, I didn't care. I was like, whatever. And fast forward a little bit, I was really big into finance, and I thought I wanted to go to school for financing or some sort of international business. And I started really getting more into real estate.
Huh. Interesting. Finance, real estate, they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, kind of, right. It's all about wealth building for me.
Yeah,
And for me, this was, right as I became saved. So, I was still walking in my sanctification, like figuring out what does God really want for me, right?
Yeah.
But I still had a lot of the flesh, trying not like, how do I live for God and not, so how do I get rid of the world? So I had a lot of that. But then I also have Crohn's disease. So that gives me a lot of medical problems my whole life. So I was in and out of hospitals.
When did that become a thing?
So they didn't diagnose me until I was about 12, but between 9 and 12, they had no idea that I had it. And so I was just in and out of the hospital because I was born with other medical conditions. I'm like a miracle baby. I was supposed to be dead. And 85 didn't have a lot of technology.
Yeah.
And so they didn't know I had my intestines on the outside until I was born.
So crazy.
And so they were like, oh God, grab the doctor.
Yeah. Let's figure this out.
Yeah.
Real quick.
And so I was in an incubator for 9 months. Mom couldn't hold me for 9 months. And
I did not know that.
Yeah, I was fed with a breathing tube, food, and I was supposed to never make it out. In 85, they said statistically it was like less than 1%.
Wait, what month were you born in 85?
Yeah, September.
So I was
15.
born in December.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So we're right.
38, man, neck and neck.
And so we were able to, so with all of that came a lot of complications because there wasn't a real way of fixing that. So kind of cramming everything back in, created a bunch of medical problems that we had to redo every 2 years. So 2 years old, 4 years old.
So
That's
you've
7
been
surgeries.
through operations and surgeries over and over again. That's crazy.
Yeah. So because of that, because of my childhood, I always was scared of like, how am I going to be in the real world on my own? And what if I get sick?
Yeah.
So I started working with HEB, great company, worked with them for 15 years. I finally quit in 2021.
You retired.
To do real estate full time.
Come on, man. I love that.
And I had always done it part time because I needed health insurance, right?
Yeah.
So before the Obama administration, you couldn't have health insurance privately. You had to always be with a company, or it would cost astronomical amount of money. So once I figured out that, hey, I'm making some good money doing 1 or 2 deals here, I took every penny from 2010 to 2021, and I rolled every single real estate commission I ever made into properties.
Wow.
And so I would buy a house, live in it, rent it out, move, do that.
Yeah.
And so by 2021, I've been doing a lot more investing stuff, and I had a lot of great mentors. And they said, hey, we need to reallocate your debt. And I had no idea what that meant, other than I don't make a lot of money. And actually, you helped me on doing a lot of that on my primary and my rental. And so that freed up a ton of cash to then say, okay, do I believe in myself? I make this much money at HEB. I have this much money for reallocations.
I remember
debt
that. I remember that conversation. At
a cheap rate, right?
Yeah.
3.5 on my primary and 4 on the thing, because it was right when the rates were. We started to realize
right on the upswing.
Yep. And I wish I could take credit that I was a genius enough to know that rates were going to be where they are today, but it just happened.
You just caught it at the perfect time, man.
Yeah.
Fortuitous, God's will.
Yeah, exactly. So once I did that, I set a plan in place, and now we structure doing things creative financing really only is all I pick up right now. And we do a little bit of flips too for supplemental income. Yeah. But again, to continue to just roll over to buy more.
So you're building a portfolio.
Yep.
And you're also helping others to build real estate portfolios.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about what inspired you to not only like build your own business in this, and obviously it's a big step to walk away from not just the income, but the health insurance with
Right.
HEB. But what inspired you to then say, I want to share this wealth with others?
Yeah, for me, it goes back to that teacher. At the time, it didn't make sense. And I wish I knew her to this day because I'm curious if she was a Christian, because that would be even cooler.
Yeah.
That God set all this up, right? Because, you know, you go through your trials and tribulations,
Right.
and you never think, like, why am I here? Or like, well, what's going on? But you go back and you look, and you're like, man, God was in every step of the way.
Yeah.
Right? And so you see that throughout the Bible, right? Paul and Peter, you see it everywhere. So why would it be any different for our lives? But what gets me to want to help others is we don't have to do the 9-to-5 rat race. I know that's very cliche to say because everyone and their mom is selling something to get you out of the rat race.
Right.
But real estate wealth, it's like, I don't know the exact stat, like 85% or 90% of all wealth was generated from
Through real estate. Yeah.
And so if you know that that's true and you're a logical, analytical thinker, it's like, okay, well then how much money do I need to be able to provide cash flow or in a high appreciating market to just sit on for a certain period of time to be able to reallocate debt so I don't have to work and do what I don't want to do.
Yeah.
Because I think it was like 78% of all people who graduate college it's not in the field that they wanted to be in.
That they're actually working.
Right.
Yeah. And then it's an even greater figure. I can't remember the percentage, but those who have master's degrees or specialized degrees, less are working in the field.
Wow.
It's just, it's so interesting how education doesn't necessarily port over to wealth.
Right.
Nor does it port over to kind of the, I guess, the pursuit of happiness. Or, one of the things we say in my company is live your American dream with financial freedom.
Right.
We sell debt for a living. I mean, I sell money, right?
Yeah.
And with money comes leverage. And with that leverage comes the responsibility to make your payments.
Right.
So one of the things that I strongly believe in is that you can actually build a lifestyle, generational wealth, and a future in a short period of time, which you've proven,
Yeah.
using leverage and using those opportunities, but still have financial freedom.
Yeah.
Which, you talk about 2021, that was really your launch pad.
Really was. Yeah.
And when that happened, what were you feeling? What were you thinking? What were you going through?
So we had at that time we had about 2 or 3 properties because we had sold off a lot too. And from 21, actually less than that, from 22, all year last year, we added about 20 properties to our portfolio.
Wow.
Yeah. And again, I'm not rich. I didn't make a ton of money, right?
Yeah, but still, man, like that's
I turned
huge.
a couple $100,000 we saved into, we have over $5 or $6 million worth of debt right now. And so I say debt because some of it was structured strategically to make a bunch of cash flow. So I'm overpaid for some properties.
Yeah.
But
you're doing a lot of seller financing and
ton of seller
creative financing type stuff. Yeah.
Yep. So what started to see that is once I started following and like, wait, why are we buying traditional? If the market's stopping because rates are going high, like what else can be done? So I always ask myself, in order for something to be true, in order for me to do something, what has to be true? Mm-hmm. So it's always a good way to kind of, for me personally, to move my mindset to a can-do attitude.
Love that.
Versus like, oh, that just seems impossible or blah, blah, blah. No. What has to be true for me to obtain 20 houses this year? What has to be true to pick up $100
What was the
million?
answer to that question when you asked yourself that?
So for me, it was, so I wanted to make, an X amount of money monthly. So let's say $25,000 a month in cash flow. So I said, okay, what's the average rents right now? Roughly, I want to make $300 to $500 in cash flow. So I just reverse engineered that, divided that number into 25,000, and that told me I think it was like 60 something properties. And so I'm like, okay, well and I immediately my personality was like, oh, you can't do it. It's gonna be a 10-year goal. Give up on it. But I'm like, wait, okay, so what has to be true for me to pick up 60 properties?
Yeah.
And then I just kept going back into it. And it's like, okay, 60, that's how many a month? How many is that a week? Okay, how much money do I need to buy a house traditionally? Okay. If I could sell or finance it, I don't even know if that's true, but if I sell or finance, what would have to be true for me to be able to do that to then get 60 deals?
Wow.
So doing that, and then I said, well, that's 61 transactions.
Yeah, baby.
I don't have the time for 61 transactions.
It's a lot.
So then I'm like, well, is it possible? What would have to be true to only do 8 transactions but still pick up 62? Well, it's just basic math. You just divide 8 transactions. That I need to find people who own at least 7 houses or 8 houses.
So you're finding actual portfolios.
Yep.
You're buying a portfolio of multiple properties, typically doing it with creative or seller financing in some way. Man, so a lot of people would look at that and say, this guy's a genius.
Far from it, yeah.
But they would, because they can't conceptualize how. Like you're sitting here quite literally laying out your strategy.
Yeah.
And there's people that will probably see this or listen to it and say, that still doesn't make sense.
Right.
So I I don't know how well educated you are. I didn't graduate college. Did you?
I dropped out,
So I dropped out after like 2 semesters. I finished Bible school, but that was because I wanted to know God more. It had really nothing to do with education. But looking at where you're at right now, and if I can say this, as we've gotten to know each other, what I've learned about you is sometimes you have to fight through a bit of a negative thinking from time to time about your capability.
Yeah.
So what the heck motivated you, outside of just those numbers you said, I'm just digging a little deeper. Yeah. What the heck motivated you to actually say, I can do this?
So for me, I have 4 kids. And so for me, it's always about kind of seeing where the world's headed and and it is purely faith-based. So knowing that the world is just getting worse, right? And the devil's goal is to take as many people away from heaven as possible, right? So whether that's, not convincing so many unbelievers to not ever convert, or to just, eliminate as many opportunities to get to heaven as possible. And so for me I'm an evangelist at heart. I used to love going out and evangelizing. We went to different colleges back before the COVID, and I haven't got back into it. So that's one reason. But I'm in a season of working really hard to hopefully get back to being able to spread God's word faster.
Well, I know you're doing that pretty fast anyway in your business. 5 minutes conversation with you can't help but know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
hopefully.
I get you. No, it's true.
And so the big reason for me is like the money is really just a byproduct, or at least I want it to be a byproduct, and I want to make sure that and that's why I surround myself with great people about like letting me know I don't want any of this to be pretentious or getting to my head. It's only to advance the kingdom of God, in the sense that, okay, can I support more evangelists? Can I build more churches? And when I mean build churches, I don't mean like how we in the North America build a church is $20 million. Yes. I'm saying third world countries where they aren't allowed to hear the gospel or read the gospel, get them access, find a way. But that takes money.
It does.
That's crazy.
Resource.
But the Lord told me, has given me, and I'm still praying about this and searching this out because it seems too big. Like, why would he use something a person like me to do something so great?
Yeah.
Again, everyone in the Bible, you see those stories, but you always think, like, I'm not him. It's going to be somebody else, right? Call somebody else, like Jonah, like the Ninevites. No, anybody else, I'm not doing it. But for me, it's like, okay, Lord, whatever your will is, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm uncomfortable where I'm at right now. The growth I've had is very uncomfortable for me.
That's a good place to be, though, man. I love that.
I'm getting used to that. I'm glad people say that, but it is uncomfortable for me.
I get you.
In a good way.
Yeah.
And it's challenging me. And again, with that, more opportunities come. God has put more people in front of me. We're helping a church right now.
Wow, that's awesome.
They can't stay in the building that they're in. Their landlord's selling. They used to own it. They sold it. Now they want to get it back, and through creative financing, we're actually able to get it back for them.
That's awesome.
So we're working on that right now. So follow me in a couple of months to see if it actually went through. But we've done a really creative structure. So
but what you're saying is, I think, so valuable for anybody who's considering using the real estate strategy, whatever it may be.
Right.
Traditional, non-traditional. I don't even know. What do you call your strategy?
I'd say it's non-traditional for sure. But, we do a lot of hybrid stuff too, where we get traditional lenders to do first position on the note, and as long as everything appraises, we can still have the seller carry back. So we get very creative that way too.
So there's a lot of different creative ways to do it, and I think one of the most important things I want to highlight here is let's inspire other people to just take action.
Yeah.
One thing you said early on in the conversation was 2010 you started this, right? So from 2010 to 2021, 11 years, you were doing real estate transactions, and you had even said kind of in the green room before we hit the record button that people would look at you and say, well, he's a part-time agent. Well, no, in reality, you're actually full-time mental space working into real estate, but you were supporting your family through a salary job and 4 kids and all those things, and then health insurance. So you have to be able to look at what's valuable to me, what's valuable to my family, what's valuable to our long term, and then you've just got to take steps.
Yeah.
Right now, my family and I, we have our first Airbnb. I talked about this.
Yeah, Florida.
We launched it about a year and a half ago, and we launched it right at about the worst time to launch an Airbnb.
Yeah.
In the coastal regions, it got super competitive. Everybody and their brother thought, I'm gonna buy an Airbnb near St. Pete, Florida. Yeah. And it's been actually painful.
Yeah.
To walk through that process, to the degree where sometimes my wife has to bring me back around and be like, let me remind you why we did this in the first place.
You got one of those too.
You're right. Oh, baby, you're right. Yeah. and then she'll speak some faith into it. We'll pray about it, and then I'll find myself talking to God, and I'm like, oh, God, I'm just so thankful. I'm thankful for your provision. I'm thankful that you've given this to me. I'm thankful that I can do things that I never believed I could do.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful that you believe in me. and that others believe in me. And we got to tell these stories, man. Because if we don't tell these stories, then we're not going to inspire others. And that's why we're doing this today.
Absolutely.
Frankly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so what does 2024 look like for you? What's the next...
2024 is insane. So we had a goal. I'm going to say it out loud so I can... 100 million in transactions.
Woo, baby, come on.
And it's just me and my right-hand man, Julius, and we have
sitting
a couple
off camera
of people.
He said he doesn't want to be on camera today.
But without him, I can't do anything, right? Because I'm very disorganized by nature. I'm the dreamer.
Yeah.
And we're going to be doing that through a couple of things. We started up a team for traditional real estate.
Okay.
We're going to have a high focus on creative financing. So you've heard like the golden handcuffs. You know,
Right.
people don't want to sell their awesome interest rate and buy an 8%
Accidental
or 7.5%.
landlords.
Yeah. So, we're helping them creatively monetize their current mortgages. We've actually been able to be able to create the money they're making to do a buy down for traditional on the buy side. So it's great for lenders and stuff. And then we're going to do a lot of it through creating opportunities through different people. So people call it wholesale. We're not as sleazy as the term wholesale has become over the terms. But we find these creative opportunities, we negotiate them, and then we see if anybody's interested in them. So we'll put those opportunities together. We're actually now in commercial space. We're working on
Very cool.
3 large separate deals. One's a development, one's a truck stop conversion, and then the other one is also like a trucking parking thing that you would never think would make any money, but I'm amazed by how much money they make. Wow. So we're negotiating those things, but that's all through networking with people in those spaces. So I've put myself more vulnerable and out there to talk to people who I think are way over my head when it comes to investments and what they do. And I'm amazed by all the creative stuff people are already doing out there.
So cool, man.
But creating all of those things, so that's going to be probably half our business. And then the rest of it's
just that. That's it. Just half. No big deal.
Yeah, well, that's the biggest one. But because we're dealing in like the millions, we can get there pretty quick.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is buy and hold. So we want to pick up about $20 million of debt personally, or with our holding company. So, and then we also have a fix and flip business too that it's supplemental. So we want to keep it around $10 million a year in flips.
Okay.
So all of that together came out to about 110 million. 100 million would be fine. I think I'd be okay at 50.
Yeah.
But that's our goal.
I'm glad you're putting it out there. I'm glad you're saying it. It's recorded.
Yeah.
December 12th, 2023. So does written, so does done.
That's right.
2024. So you're building a team. You have all these opportunities. I hope that somebody hears this and wants to connect with you. And if they want to, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, you can do it through Facebook is really the best way. We're going to be out on Instagram. We have TikTok, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
And so, you can reach me. You can link my info, cell phone, but text anytime, call. We're looking for good agents that want to specifically be in investing.
Yeah.
So we can service everything on the outside like everybody else, but we want to really get out there and help the investors who want to grow their portfolios quicker, who have maybe tapped out their mortgage lines. They can only allow so many mortgages.
Right.
And I'm sure you have creative ways too that they can even get around that.
Yep.
So being able to work with people like yourself to structure that and then also add more to them if they need it. So we're running into a lot of software developers, high income earners that are making millions that need millions in real estate to offset their taxes.
Yeah.
But they don't have the time to do it.
Yeah.
And so we're looking for high qualified agents to help learn our model.
It's awesome.
And go out and provide that value to everybody else.
So it sounds like, just kind of close us out here, it sounds like the last thing you have is a lead problem.
Yeah, we don't have a lead problem. We have a dispo problem a little bit because we're building the relationships and Julius handles all the acquisitions. We find deals all the time.
And so I'm drilling into that for a second because I want people to hear this. You guys are on the phone almost constantly.
Yeah, we call like over 4,000 people a week.
Yeah,
is what we call.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and we're actually about to double that because we just added 2 more people.
So we were talking a little bit about technology a couple weeks ago, and you've said to me like technology is not my favorite thing, but I'm excited about implementing it, and you're able to scale your reach. Why is technology important in real estate? Scaling your reach.
Yeah, mainly for us, AI has been really big. So there's actually a couple of really good companies out there that'll actually take over calling, surprisingly or not, and have it in an Aussie voice, which is even better because I trust a Australian for whatever reason. I don't even want to vet him. I was like, here's my money, take it.
We're like, oh, you're exotic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're like a koala. So I'm like, I want that. So so that program's been amazing, and they have some pretty cool technology, but it's very expensive. However, it's actually very cheap if you break it down. Yeah, when you quantify it, they can call 100 lines at one time.
Wow.
So it's like, well, How far do you want to grow?
So what I'm hearing is folks need to learn from you because you've already kind of taken some steps and you have something to share and something to give, and people can partner with you on deals. They can partner with you on the team.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways. Well, I'm thankful to know you, brother, and I'm really thankful for what you've done. You inspire me every time we talk.
Oh man, same.
Super excited for your 2024. Is there anything I should have asked you today that I didn't, that you wish that I did?
No, man. I keep being faith-based. I think that's the biggest thing. I love that, and people say that they believe in that stuff, but it's one thing to like talk about it, and every time we get together, it's always
be who you are.
It's always top of mind, and it's just always very casual. I love that. And then also, I wanted to throw out there JV opportunities. So if you're a real estate agent, a lot of people are like, why would I call Lyle to do a deal for me? Like, he's going to cut me out of my commission. We pretty much will pay commissions, or we'll give you the opportunity to JV on a listing that you can't sell.
Okay.
And as long as we run the numbers and everything makes sense, we'll actually bring you on as a partner.
Nice.
And show you what we do, and you can choose whether or not you want to continue to work future deals with us or join our team.
Dude, or super smart.
Do it as a side hustle and just partner us when you need money.
Well, there's probably other Lyles out there who aren't quite ready to walk away from their version of HEB.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's a good position to start with you.
Yeah.
Or, somebody who's obviously looking to take down more deals.
Yeah.
In more creative ways. Because like I said, there's a lot of people who hear this and they're still like, but how?
Yeah.
And I do believe that God has legitimately downloaded plan to you after plan after plan after plan, because you have vision.
Yeah.
And always, I believe this so important principle from the Bible, that where there's vision, there's always provision. Mm-hmm. So God's given you clear vision. You continue to chase after it. He continues to give you provision. Man, I'm super excited to see where you go this next year.
Man, I'm excited to go. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having us, for taking the time to sit down and have the conversation. And we'll chat with you soon.
Sounds good, man.